we will finish things off with the critical drinker talking about the rise and fall of Taika Waititi. Are we ready? Let's listen to the dulcet voice of our favorite drunk Scotsman movie critic.
The past few years have seen a lot of big names crash out of the industry in spectacular fashion, from gassed up actresses who thought they were untouchable, to big name stars so in love with their own brand that they forgot how to be actual human beings, to actual borderline psychopaths who tried to weaponize the justice system against their own husbands. But this next case is kind of an interesting one. A man of genuine talents who rose to the very peak of Hollywood success, propelled by a stellar reputation and a media machine determined to hype him up as the next big thing, only to realise that having too much power, too much freedom, and too many resources can be just as dangerous as having too little. A man...
Is this sounding familiar? Is this sounding familiar to anybody about another filmmaker that started off strong, had great ideas, created great things, and then was given carte blanche and basically was taken off the chain, and then yeah. And Microfiber, I saw you got it. It's George Lucas all over again. Now, Gramps, Taika Waititi is literally the latest version of George Lucas. Actually has good ideas and can do good films when he's kept on a leash. You take him off the chain and just say, oh, you have all the creative freedom that you want, and it goes nuts.
Ultimately undone by his lack of self-control, discipline, and... I'm talking, of course, about Taika Waititi, the man who...
Well, I mean, Revan, let's also not pretend like when George Lucas was let off the chain for the prequels, that things didn't go, shall we say, awry. He made, like, you know, there was a very stark difference between the OG series and the prequels. And the prequels is when he was let off the chain and given complete freedom. And he made a less than stellar trilogy out of it. That was inferior to his originals because you didn't have someone... No, Revan, I disagree. The dialogue in the prequels was not good. He tried to go way too Shakespearean, and because he basically did not have anybody to reel him back. Well, it was. If you want to say that the dialogue was always bad, that's totally up to you. But the dialogue was definitely worse in the prequels than the originals.
I'm talking, of course, about Taika Waititi, the man who vowed to ruin your mythos in a minute, baby, and whose ego got so big that it caused a full-scale career implosion. So let us learn about this strange little man together, shall we? Taika was born in New Zealand in 1975, the son of a Maori father and a mother of Russian, Jewish and Irish descent. Damn, that's one hell of a combination right there. Anyway, the marriage was a turbulent one and his parents eventually divorced when he was 5 years old, an event that would go on to shape a lot of his subsequent film projects. You know, call me crazy, but having divorced parents seems to be a bit of a common theme in these crash and burn stories. Oh well, I'm sure there's no connection between massive personal upheaval and the removal of important role models during your formative years and psychological problems later in life.
Right.
Anyway, Taika soon developed an interest in filmmaking and began entering into film festivals and competitions, where his short film 2 Cars, 1 Night bagged him an Academy Award nomination in 2005. But his real passion lay with comedy, and by 2007 he released his first feature film, Eagle vs. Shark. It's definitely not his best work, but a lot of his hallmarks are there. Jabs at the absurdity and pettiness of daily life, the deadpan humour, and a protagonist struggling with identity and emotional trauma. drama. And if you've ever wondered how it's possible to lose a fight to a guy in a wheelchair, well, this film's got you covered in a scene that genuinely had me laughing out loud. Anyway, his next movie,
Okay.
Boy, in 2010 turned out to be a much bigger success. It's a comedy drama about
Oh,
a
I
kid
heard
who
about this
worships
one.
his absent father, who just so happens to be Maori, only to reconnect with him and find out the guy's actually a bit of a loser. This all seems very familiar. Anyway, the movie did well critically and commercially and finally put Taika on the map. It was followed up by 2014's What We Do in the Shadows, kind of like This Is Spinal Tap but with vampires instead of musicians, and 2016
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is What We Do in the Shadows, wasn't that a TV series? For some, I could be completely wrong. For some reason, it like that title popped off to me. Okay, so it was Taika's film first, and then they turned it into a TV series. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Because I'm like, I thought for sure I was like, I never saw it, but I remember hearing about the TV series called What We Do in the Shadows. Was the TV series British? Was that a UK production? By chance? They made the TV series due to the film's success. Okay, and that makes perfect sense. That does make perfect sense. Like, uh, was it FX? Really? I don't know why. Okay, okay.
kind of like This Is Spinal Tap but with vampires instead of musicians, and 2016's Hunt for the Wilder People. Both were excellent movies, especially Wilder People, that showcase
Wait, is that who I think it was?
Both were excellent movies.
Is that, oh, fuck. What's his name? Oh my god, I can't think of his name. He was in Deadpool 2. He played Fire Fist. Oh my god. Yeah, I cannot remember the actor's name. For the life of me, I cannot remember this kid's name. But yeah, he played Fire Fist in Deadpool 2. Okay. Which, by the way, no shade against this kid. They fucked that up. And I have to say, Julian Dennison, thank you, believer. Thank you. They fucked up the character of Fire Fist. And again, I'm not throwing shade at the actor. But as I believe that the character of Fire Fist was based off of an X-Force character. Or not X-Force, a New Mutants character. And he didn't look anything like Julian Dennison. The character Rusty was built and a redhead and white. And I'm sorry, I don't like the fact that they swapped him out for Julian Dennison to play the character. It's like, I appreciate it's not, it's a cinematic universe. It's not exactly the comics. Like, I fully appreciate that, but if they're gonna take a character from the comics, try to accurately represent them. I'm pretty sure. Hang on. Let me double check just to be sure I'm not talking out of my ass. I'm reasonably sure Fire Fist was Rusty. Let's see. Hang on. Yeah. Sorry. No, he wasn't red. He wasn't a redhead. Sorry, I was mistaken about that. He was a blonde. He was a blonde, not a redhead. But yeah, Fire Fist was from the New Mutants. No, I'm sorry. He was a redhead. Yeah, he is a redhead. Rusty is a redhead. Rusty Russell Collins. You know what? Fuck it. Hang on. Yeah. This is Rusty. Here, actually, you got them side by side right there. Okay, it's there. Here's his New Mutants cover. This was Russell Collins. This was Fire Fist. Okay, this is the character that Julian Dennison played in Deadpool 2. Okay, here's their side by side comparisons. But that is who the character Julian Dennison played in Deadpool 2. Yeah, it looks nothing like him, and that always disappointed me. Again, I'm not throwing shade at Julian Dennison for taking the role and how he was directed to play the role. I take issue with Fox swapping out the character like that. So that part was a little disappointing. And I will say other than when he was quipping with Deadpool in the movie, like his back and forth with Deadpool was fine. Like when he was like taking pot shots at Deadpool, that was fine. That was kind of funny. I didn't believe him. I did not believe him when he was like getting like becoming like quote unquote becoming the villain. When he's like, I will get my vengeance, and he like was like, he was starting his like quote unquote villain arc in Deadpool 2. I'm sorry, I didn't believe it at all. Like, he's like, I have a mission. That scene where he was like, I have a mission, and was like going all villain arc. I was like, no. No, I felt no threat from him whatsoever. He felt like a kid playing pretend. And I didn't buy it at all. It was bad casting. It was legit bad casting. Bad direction. Absolutely bad direction. Yeah. Well, Revan, the whole point of the hook for Deadpool is, other than, of course, Juggernaut, who gets roped in about 3/4 of the way through, the big hook for Deadpool, the Deadpool 2 movie, is there was no big villain. That was the hook, is Deadpool was an adversary, but he wasn't actually a villain because he was trying to save his future. And that was like the hook. That was the whole hook for the movie. And Fire Fist was basically Deadpool was trying to save him from himself. So it's like that was the hook from the movie, is like, taking Juggernaut aside, is there was no actual quote unquote villain of Deadpool 2. That was kind of sort of the hook.
Especially wilder people that showcase Taika's talent for blending poignant.
Hey, bump stop. Sorry, side tangent. Bump stop. Watch Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3, I understand 2 may have felt like a little bit of a letdown for you. Watch Deadpool 3. Deadpool and Wolverine is fucking amazing. It is absolutely fucking amazing. You will love it. Watch it. 100%, 1000% recommend. Watch it. It is fan service galore, but it is hilariously fan servicey. You will love it. Okay?
Character-driven drama with absurdist humor and inventive direction to create something truly unique. He was clearly a talented guy who offered something a bit different from the usual generic Hollywood slop. And on the subject of generic Hollywood slop, this is where Marvel Studios enters into our tale, dear viewer. See, by this point, the MCU had become a pop culture juggernaut, rampaging through the summer box office every single year, but the one character they just couldn't crack was Thor. The 2 previous movies had been too serious and stodgy, and ultimately they failed to connect with audiences.
I disagree. I liked Thor when he was serious. I think I liked Thor when he was serious. I think that the character started to fall apart for me when they started making him humorous. When they started turning him into a joke with the 3rd movie is when the problem started to arise with Thor. I thought The one problem I had with Thor 1 is he was not Thor for the majority of it. He spent too much of his time in the first movie without his hammer and without, him actually being Thor and just being a normal human. That was the one fault, that was the one problem I had with the first movie. But how they characterized him in the first movie, how they characterized him in Avengers, how they characterized him in the second movie, I thought was good. They kept him serious. There was a little bit of humor. There was a little bit of humor in there, but it worked and it didn't detract from the seriousness of Thor. Starting with the third movie, they started turning him into a joke, and it all started to fall apart. The third Thor movie is where the character started to fall apart. And who took over for the third movie? Who was it that took control of the Thor franchise, starting with the third movie?
His unintentional humor is where it works, like when he slammed the cup.
Exactly. And that's what I'm referring to. Is like there was a little bit of humor, but it worked and didn't detract from him. That's the last one, Fashizi. That was the last Thor movie. The one before that was Thor Ragnarok, which is when Taika Waititi took over. I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe Taika Waititi was the director for Dark World. As I don't believe was. I could be wrong, but I don't think he was the director from Dark World. But when he took over for Thor Ragnarok, that's when he turned Thor into a joke, and that's when the character basically, I started to strongly dislike it. Was the Dark World. That's where I was just like, no, this is the wrong direction. They turned him into okay, Alan Taylor was dark. Okay, so I was right. So yeah, when Taika Waititi was able to get his hands on Thor, he turned him into a fucking joke. He turned into a fucking joke and didn't like it. Did not like it.
They really needed was someone who could bring a different edge to the character and make him fun for a change. And
yeah, see, like that during Avengers.
They really needed
that
was
part
someone
right
who
there.
could bring a different edge.
Like, he was serious here. He was still a serious character, and this added a bit of levity and humor, but it didn't lose the seriousness of Thor.
To the character and make him fun for a change, and Taika turned out to be just the man for the job. Thor Ragnarok was a breath of fresh air after the gloomy pretentiousness of Dark Worlds. It was
No, I disagree. Like Thor, like Ragnarok was okay. I didn't hate Ragnarok. I didn't hate Ragnarok or anything. But they basically juveniled him. They basically took Thor from being a strong, stoic god, and they changed him to basically be more childlike. And stupid. Yes, Revan. They made him so fucking stupid. Ragnarok is where they started turning him into an idiot. And it just kept going from there. And I hated it. I hated how Taika Waititi changed the character to be an idiot. And by the way, point of note, he wasn't an idiot in Endgame. In Endgame, he was stoic and serious the entire time. They brought back that stoic seriousness for him in Endgame. But sorry. Sorry, not Endgame. I'm sorry. Infinity War. Sorry. In Infinity War, they brought back the seriousness. And then, of course, there was Fat Thor in Endgame, which I really didn't like. And then, of course, Love and Thunder, he was a fucking moron. Love and Thunder, oh my god, I hated Love and Thunder. I fucking hated it. I thought it was a terrible movie.
Worlds. It was bright and colourful and vibrant, and it never took itself too seriously. Yeah, it did inflict Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie on the world.
Oh man. Oh god, oh man.
Fuck off, Tessa Thompson, and take that shit-eating smirk with you. But I guess I can forgive it for that. grudgingly. Anyway, it would go on to be a massive critical and commercial success, reinvigorating the character of Thor and, more importantly, propelling Taika's name to the top of Hollywood's. He'd go on to cement his success by writing, directing and producing Jojo Rabbit in 2019, a comedy drama about a young boy living in Germany during World War II.
Well, I haven't seen this one. I have heard that this was a good film that Taika did with Jojo Rabbit. I think it was a little bit less dark than the original story, but I've heard that this was a good movie, from what I've heard.
With his imaginary friend Adolf, and arguably it's Taika's best work ever. It even bagged him an Academy Award for Best Screenplay. By now, Taika was at the peak of his success, with a string of critical and commercial hits to his name, awards and recognition everywhere, and he was being lauded as the next big director in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's what I've heard,
He just
Baconator.
couldn't seem to go wrong, and well, all the success was starting to go to his heads. An infamous tweet from August 2019 where he flippantly dismissed fan criticisms that he didn't take Thor and the mythos around the character seriously attracted a lot of negative attention and began to paint him as a bit of an egomaniac, in love with his own reputation and convinced that he just couldn't fail. Which is ironic in retrospect.
Sounds familiar.
Because, well, he was about to. Big time. Marvel were keen to repeat the success of
This movie. This movie was fucking horrible. Absolutely fucking horrible. For the love of fucking God. Thor had like a quasi romance with his fucking ex. There was literally a fucking love triangle between Thor, his axe, and his hammer. I shit you not. There was a literal love triangle between Thor, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir. Like, he was actually talking to them like they were sentient. Okay? He was literally talking to Stormbreaker and Mjolnir like they were sentient beings. And there was a literal fucking love triangle between the three of them. And yes, they fucked over Christian Bale big time. There was such opportunity there for his character as Gore the God Butcher to being that, like, sympathetic villain where you could actually, like delve into his pain that drove him to being the God Butcher, and they totally fucked it up. This movie was fucking awful. It's why Christian Bale, like someone said in chat, Christian Bale won't do a Marvel movie after this. It's also what caused Chris Hemsworth to walk away. This movie is also the reason why Chris Hemsworth said, "I'm done with Marvel." Now, I do think that he's coming back for Secret Wars, so I'm guessing they probably paid him a shitload of money to do so. But, Chris Hemsworth was like, after Love and Thunder, he's like, "I'm done. I'm done with Disney and I'm done with Marvel because of what they did." Well, Revan, they girlbossed Jane Foster, but they were going with the arc of when Jane Foster actually did become Thor in the comics. They were trying to, granted, they didn't do a good job of it. I'm not saying that they did. They were trying to do her Thor arc in the comics and just did not do it well.
Thor Ragnarok, and so when it was time to do a fourth movie, the logical choice was to bring Taika back and let him work his magic again. This time though, he wouldn't just be directing it, he'd be writing the screenplay as well. All the checks and balances that had kept him somewhat under control with Ragnarok were gone now. This time Taika had total creative control over Love and Thunder, and guess what happens? It was a fucking disaster. Thor Love and Thunder is exactly
And by the way, him and Tessa Thompson, who he was dating at the time, bearing in mind, when he made Love and Thunder, he was dating Tessa Thompson, who played Valkyrie, who was a major character in this movie. They were dating during their Taika. Taika was dating Tessa Thompson during the filming of Love and Thunder. Yes, he was. And during their promotion of Love and Thunder, Both Taika and Tessa shit all over the CGI of Love and Thunder. They were making fun of the CGI in their own fucking movie and their promotional stuff. Like they were looking at scenes and making fun of the completed CGI in the movie's own promotional little videos. Yeah. What did like this movie was a fucking travesty. Yeah, they absolutely fucked up Zeus and made him a fucking joke. But yes, you're right, Revan. There was a deleted scene that, god damn it, why didn't they leave it in? There was a deleted scene with Thor and Zeus where Zeus actually acts like a father to Thor and talks to him earnestly and imparts wisdom into Thor in a good scene. And for the love of fuck, I don't know why they deleted it. Because it was a good scene. But otherwise, they made Zeus like it looked like an absolute hedonistic fucking joke. And it was terrible. Hefe, don't see Love and Thunder. It is an absolute shit show.
What happens when unbridled creativity gets unleashed with hundreds of millions of dollars to spend and not an ounce of discipline, restraint or self-control to rein it in. By all accounts, Taika himself was like a kid in a candy store during the shoot, coming up with ideas and whole new scenes on the fly, unable to focus on anything. Entire sets were built and struck without ever being used. Whole scenes were filmed that never made it into the final cut. Actors were encouraged to improvise and ad-lib, resulting in scenes that dragged on forever and had to be butchered in editing. The end result was an unfocused, meandering, oversaturated mess of a film that somehow brought out all of Taika's worst tendencies as a filmmaker. Every dramatic scene was undercut with goofy jokes that were more annoying than funny. The emotional tone swung wildly in every direction. Not a single moment was ever allowed to breathe and settle in, and it wasn't lost on people that Taika wrote.
And not only that, they lost out on crucial characterization. Like, see, like the scenes were like, they were just like, the scenes weren't allowed to breathe. They weren't allowing the characters to be characters, to have their development, to have emotion. Again, with Gore the God Butcher, you could have done so much great emotion with Gore the God Butcher, because his story starts tragic and then he just becomes a psychopath. They didn't allow an exploration into the psychopathy of Gore the God Butcher, of how, like, where he's like dealing with the pain and the anger that caused him to become this god killer in the first place. He just went from a tragic figure who goes to the gods to save his son, and they just go, no, fuck off. And and he basically just breaks so completely, he kills a god and then goes on a rampage, but you're never able to see that emotion that's driving him. He just basically turns into like a fucking Joker, as just like, I'm crazy and killing the gods just because now I want to kill the gods. You don't have any exploration into the psychopathy that's driving him. You don't get to see his pain that is continuing to drive him forward. It's just, nah, fuck it. He's just gonna be a psychopath. And would not allow Christian Bale the opportunity to bring the character to life.
Single moment was ever allowed to breathe and settle in, and it wasn't lost on people that Taika wrote a pretty substantial role for himself in this one, playing Korg, who now seemed to be in every fucking scene, always cracking shit jokes and always trying to steal the limelight. Even the actors were getting pissed off with him. Chris Hemsworth famously described the movie as feeling like it was made by a 7-year-old and vowed to never work with any mad genius directors again. I wonder who he could be referencing there. Love and Thunder got absolutely savaged by fans and critics and disappointed at the box office, costing way more than Ragnarok but making $100 million less. Yeah, it still turned a profit, but Marvel weren't exactly breaking out the champagne this time around. The damage to their brand was substantial, coming at a time when the MCU was already starting to falter. Love and Thunder seemed like it should have been a slam dunk that could give them a much needed boost.
Yeah, this part right here is where he's talking to Stormbreaker like it's a sentient fucking thing and saying like, oh, I still love you or something like that. And Eden's like it was a combination of all. Okay, this is the fucking crazy part. he was talking to Stormbreaker in one breath, talking to Stormbreaker like it's his lover, and in the next breath, talking to Stormbreaker like it's his child. Because in this scene alone, he's talking to Stormbreaker and goes, "I think you're old enough for this now," and pours the mead over Stormbreaker like he's giving Stormbreaker its first drink. Like, this is the shit that was in this movie. Like, that an inanimate object is being spoken to as if it's both a lover and a child. Okay? This is the shit that was in this movie.
But instead it had become one of their biggest embarrassments.
See?
It didn't help that even Taika himself decided to shit on the film, mocking the special effects alongside nobody's favourite actress.
Does it look weird?
Yes!
In that particular shot, no, actually.
This right here is what I was talking about. This was part of their promotional material. This was part of their promotional material for the movie, and they're making fun of the CGI in their own fucking movie. They're shitting all over their CGI artists, and they're making fun of their own fucking movie in the movie's promotional material.
Yeah, that's right, Taika, because the visuals are definitely the thing holding this one back. Why are him and Tessa Thompson spending so much time together here?
Yeah?
Alright, that's why. Instead of making him look like a good sport who could laugh at his own mistakes, he came across as an arrogant dickhead, disinterested in the quality of his own movies, and willing to throw other people under the bus instead of taking responsibility. I mean, if anyone deserves sympathy in all of this, it's the animators who usually have to meet impossible deadlines and constantly change what they produce to keep up with fickle studios and directors. Overnight, Taika's reputation was absolutely shredded, going from a talented and likable director who could marry comedy and drama and make it look easy to a
Conga, you're 100% right. He looks like a shitty version of he like this look of his. He does look like he's a shitty version of Robert Downey Jr. You are 100% correct. That's like the way he styled his hair, the way he styled his goatee. You are absolutely right. It looks like he's trying to mimic Robert Downey Jr. Badly. Very badly.
To a goofy clown who lacked the discipline and maturity to be trusted with big projects. Stung by the first real failure of his career.
Like, tell me this doesn't look like he's trying to mimic Robert Downey Jr. Tell me this doesn't look like it's supposed to be Robert Downey Jr. in his younger years. It's honestly scarily close. It is scarily close to how Robert Downey Jr. looked when he was younger.
Of his career, Taika retreated to his comfort zone of low-budget comedies and tried to bounce back the following year with Next Goal Wins. It didn't work. The movie got weak reviews and flopped at the box office. Taika Waititi was officially in director's jail. So what the hell is he up to now? Well, it was reported a few months ago in the Hollywood press that he was working on a Judge Dredd movie, which was kind of misleading because nothing's actually in active development with this one. All he really has are the film rights, which he's trying to shop around the industry to get a movie deal off the ground. And funnily enough, nobody seems to be interested in it.
Thank fucking God. I do not want Taika Waititi anywhere near Judge Dredd. Keep Taika Waititi the fuck away from Judge Dredd. No fucking shot. No fucking shot.
Because I literally can't think of any director less suited to Judge Dredd than Taika fucking Waititi. Are we ever going to see him in charge of a big budget blockbuster again? I don't know. I mean, his TV show Time Bandits seemed to get okay reviews, so he's still working at least, but I can't see him reaching the A-list again anytime soon. He really is a perfect example of what happens when a man gets promoted beyond his abilities and all his weaknesses as a filmmaker get exposed for the world to see, when creativity isn't balanced out by self-control, and ultimately when a career gets completely undone by
Fucking hubris.
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Like, here's the thing. If he was reined in, if he was reined in, like maybe like with Jojo Rabbit, he could maybe do good. When you just basically just turn him loose, now, like many writers and directors, we're seeing this.
Finito is live on
We're
Kick
seeing
and
this.
Twitch RN.
With many writers and directors, when they are let off the leash and given total creative control, that's where you see the flaws. It's like this is a common thing. It's why not giving writers, directors full creative control is a good thing. You need to keep them on a leash. You need to keep them grounded. When you keep these writers and directors on a leash and grounded, that's when they have to really think critically, and when they have to really try and work to make their films work well. And the result is you get a good film. Because they're not just doing a stream of fucking consciousness, they're actually given direction and guidance, and they actually have to focus. And that's when you get the good films.